Thursday. So New York has been flooded. Half of our staff, still hasn't made it into the office because they can't, because train stations are flooded. There's no train services, no bus services. People are stuck. So I hope everybody's safe after yesterday. I know parts of Long Island lost electricity. I know there were floodings on Staten Island and in Queens, and you know, people's cars got totaled and stuff pretty bad. I hope everybody's okay. If you need any help, of course, reach out to us if you have any questions. I'm happy to see everybody. I know it's September, it's bittersweet. On the one hand, the kids are going back to school, yay. On the other hand, it definitely feels like fall again. So hopefully we'll get a few more nice days after this last hurricane-ish event. So in terms of responses to questions, I just wanted to let you know that if you ask a question under one of the videos and it's a general question like the one I'm about to answer, that's okay. But if you post a question that is very fact specific, I will not be able to address it because you have to schedule a consultation for that. First of all, I don't want to break any privacy issues, and second of all, you can't answer complicated immigration legal question by, you know, a text message and stuff. You need a confidential consultation with an attorney who gets to ask you questions, you know, do follow-ups and stuff like that. In terms of question that was posted recently about the processing times for 601A waivers, they are posted on the USCIS website. I will post it on our Facebook today, and right now they vary. There are, the longest one that I see is they're looking at applications filed in October 2019, which makes it almost 2 years, right? But we have had certain 601As being approved way under that in a matter of months, and certain ones have been taking much longer. So the posting times that are, processing times that are posted on USCIS website are general in nature, and they just mean that if you are 14 months in and the website says that it may take up to 24 months, that if you follow up with immigration, they'll give you a generic response that's going to say it's within normal processing time. That's all that it means. Immigration reform, there is no immigration reform. There is no magic wand. Do not listen to people who say to you that Biden came in and gave an amnesty. We're getting information from clients that there are people out there who say if you pay X amount of money that you can get, you know, socials and green cards for all undocumented people in the US. That is not so. Also, I just want to make a remark based on recent events that I tried to be as honest as possible with you, and if I tell you that currently there is nothing that I can do for you, doesn't mean that it's going to stay this way forever. It doesn't mean that you're doomed. Over the years, there's always been reforms and changes in the immigration law. Sometimes changes in your personal life can affect your case and can open up some doors for you. There's definitely been a huge segment of our clients who can take advantage and benefit from the recent Biden administration steps in immigration, but there is no amnesty. And unfortunately, with the recent developments in Afghanistan, I honestly think what's gonna happen is a lot of unnecessary hearings and testimonies and books and reports and media tours, and a lot of the congressional efforts on both sides are going to be fixated on the Afghanistan issue. And unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, it's not often that I am, but on this part, I truly don't want to be right, but I think it's going to take the momentum away from the immigration. So I don't know, but we're going to keep you updated every week as we have always done. Okay, so today let's talk about citizenship, which is ultimately, I think, why everybody comes to me, to my firm, to our firm. Is that not for everybody, of course, but it's that passport, that U.S. passport, that pride that you feel when you get the certificate of naturalization, and pride that you feel when you're kids and you have that American passport in your hands, that for generations has been this symbol of freedom and American dream and positive things. And I hope it continues to be such for our clients and for those watching. I have to say that a lot of our clients make me so proud. I see them come here and just like any immigrant, struggle in the beginning, and I see them through the years buying houses and opening businesses and having their kids to be the first ones to go to college. And those kids are so American. They carry the traditions, they carry the language sometimes, but those parents, they look at those kids who never experienced the hardship that they have, and they're proud of the kids and proud of themselves for making the hard choices and making the hard decisions to better their lives and the lives of their family. How do we get there? I'm going to tell a little bit about it. The law of naturalization can be quite complicated, so I'm going to touch on some things now and I'll expand on more things later. Let's take the most typical case, and let's say you have your green card in your hand. The general law is the following. From the day of the issuance of the green card, you can apply for naturalization 5 years later. In reality, you apply 4 years and 9 months. So 3 months before the 5-year period, you apply for naturalization. The naturalization process has many different subtexts and many different reasons for existing. You will be fingerprinted, so that is another chance for the Department of Homeland Security to go through your background, especially if you have a complicated immigration history, or if you have any criminal history. They will pull it up and they will look at your background. If you have criminal history, or if you have complicated criminal history and you come to me, I will say to you that we will not do your citizenship unless we get all of your certificates of disposition for the criminal history and analyze them, and unless we get or if you can provide it, the record of your immigration history. The reason being is because during the interview you will be asked complicated background questions about arrests, about fraud, misrepresentation, lying, and marriage, and you have to understand how to answer them correctly, which questions apply to you and which questions don't. There are certain criminal convictions that will prohibit you from forever applying for citizenship. There are certain ones that can be dealt with in limited circumstances. In general, crimmigration, intersection of criminal and immigration law is one of the most complicated areas of law, because not only do you have to look at the place where the crime or the conviction happened, you then have to analyze it as it relates to the federal immigration law. So your conviction can be local, and let's say for the state purposes, your conviction can be a misdemeanor, and you're like, oh, I have no felonies, I should be okay. But when we look at it with respect to immigration law, it can actually have severe negative consequences in your immigration history. It could be an aggravated felony, it could be a felony, it can be a CIMT. So it's very, very complicated. But as always, I digress. Number two, so requirements for citizenship. One is the 5 years since you got your green card, which, like I said, you can apply 4 years, 9 months. Two is you have to be a resident of the state for at least 90 days to apply in that state for citizenship. So if you have recently moved to New York, we have to wait for you to be a resident of New York for 90 days before we can apply in New York. Number three, you have to have been physically present in the United States for 30 months out of the last 5 years. Yes, they do look at your travel history. Yes, there are complicated situations where people have so much travel that we have request CBP records, and we have to calculate the amount of time that the person has spent in the US and to determine whether that was a significant amount of time and whether that person is eligible or they have to wait. Yes, it's more work. So that's number three. Four, you have to show that you're a person of good moral character. That is a complicated sentence. It's a loaded sentence. What does that mean? Paying taxes, right? If you haven't paid taxes, that is a negative towards the showing of good moral character. There are exceptions and situations, and if that's your case, we can't talk about it, right? Maybe there's a way around it. If you owe any back taxes, you will have to show that you are either in contract or you have an agreement with IRS to repay it, or you're taking steps to, make the situation better. It can be for lack of payment of alimony or child support. There is a question on the N400 whether that is the case, and that will go towards your good moral character. Crimes. Sometimes you can have 14 arrests, and each individual arrest will not render you deportable, will not render you ineligible to have a green card, but the Department of Homeland Security gets to make a decision about whether they think you are a person of good moral character. And repeated disregard of laws in criminal history can go towards discretion, and they can say that yes, you did the test, yes, you passed the writing, yes, you paid your taxes, yes, you supported your family, but we nonetheless think that your extensive criminal background does not allow us to give you the opportunity to become a citizen. All questions that we can talk about. For men, if you are present in the United States after your 18th birthday and you are a male, you have to have registered for what's called selective service registration. And if you are applying for citizenship and you are between the ages of 18 and 31, you have to show proof that you have been registered for selective service. 18 and 26. However, let's say you didn't. What is that? That goes to your good moral character. If you didn't register for selective service and you're 27 years old, that falls within the 5 years at when they look at your good moral character, right? You have to show that you're a person of good moral character for 5 years preceding the application for citizenship. And then next requirement is that you have to pass reading, writing, and the civics test. There are exceptions to that. Sometimes it's based on your age and how long you've had your green card. There are also medical exceptions to that. People who have severe mental, physical disabilities that do not allow them to, for example, retain information or, process information or, to even do a verbal test. There are ways to go around it. There are medical exceptions. But without the exceptions, you have to pass the reading, the writing, and the civics exam. All materials are available online. When you file for citizenship, two things will happen. You will get a receipt. We talked about that. And the second thing, you will either be asked to go do your biometrics again, or you will get a letter that says that your biometrics are being reused. You don't have to submit any medical forms to get citizenship, but if you have had arrests, you're going to have to get certificates of disposition of those. You will also have to get proof that taxes have been filed. Right now, we're looking at about 10 months processing time between us filing and you going to a citizenship interview. However, those are only for New York, and there are exceptions to that as well. We have had interviews in Connecticut and Massachusetts and New Hampshire, where between the filing and the time that the person went to the interview was like 3 or 4 months. So that does happen. In New York, we've also had interviews were filed in the beginning of this year and the person has already been interviewed. But that's more of like an outlier at this point. I see about 10 months between you submitting the documents and going to an interview. When you go to the interview, especially if you have complicated immigration background, all corrections to the forms, if there are necessary corrections, can take place during the interview. One of the most important things is being truthful at the interview. You can say yes on the form, you can say no on the form, but know that an immigration officer will review your case. So, give you an example. If you have had a waiver in the past for having misrepresented something or used a fraudulent document and you got a waiver, and then you go to a naturalization interview and the officer asks you, have you ever lied to the U.S. government? And you say no. Have you ever provided fraudulent documents to the government? And you say no. That is giving false testimony at a naturalization interview. When there are complicated immigration background, we go over these things with you when we prepare for the interview. But giving false testimony of naturalization interview will prohibit you from applying for the next 5 years. Of course, there are exceptions. When you come to me and you've been denied and I say, no, we can appeal this. This is obviously a mistake. This went wrong, that went wrong. But for the most part, if you're not truthful, and most officers will give you multiple chances to give correct or truthful answers. But if you continuously to be untruthful, you will be denied for giving false testimony at a naturalization interview. It's not a death sentence. It just means you're gonna have to wait 5 years and try again. However, typical immigration and naturalization interviews, are rather quick, and we prepare you, we go over, we tell you everything that needs to be done, and if you want us, we'll go with you. Some people get very nervous. They want somebody, so to speak, in their corner at the interview that would give them moral support. Can't bring your spouse, cannot bring your relatives. It's gonna be you. I will talk about application for naturalization based on marriage to a U.S. citizen next time. It's gonna require its own segment, and I'll talk about some other issues as well. But let's say you filed taxes, you're a good person, you didn't have a criminal background history, you don't have an immigration complicated history with removals orders and such. Let's say you just came here, you had the green card for 5 years, you applied for naturalization. Sorry, I'm not sick, I just have allergies. You go to the interview. At the end of the interview, mostly in 95% of our cases, what happens is you get a notice that says your case is being held for review. That's just giving the opportunity to the officer to, kind of go over everything again, make sure nothing was missed. But most officers will indicate like, oh, you passed, it's going to be recommended for approval. If it is approved, the next thing that happens is you're placed in line for an oath ceremony. The next document you're going to get is an oath ceremony appointment. Basically, it's going to be 2 pages. It's going to have the time and place where you have to go for the oath ceremony, the things you have to bring with you, and it's going to have a little biographical questionnaire where they just want to ask you, if you've gotten married, if you've traveled, because sometimes it takes a few months between you passing your naturalization interview and you actually going to the oath ceremony. It's nothing complicated. They're not trying to catch you in a lie. They just want to make sure that nothing has changed. You go to the oath ceremony, and they used to be gorgeous. People used to bring their entire family, sometimes their employers or people they went to college with. It was very touching. People cry. The judge comes out. It's beautiful, right? Doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes it happens in USCIS, and the USCIS officer in charge will gather people, give them the oath. Ultimately, of course, what matters is that naturalization certificate. And when you have it in your hands, you can walk out of USCIS office, or if it's done by a judge, out of the federal court and go straight to the local post office and order your passport. I think for today that would be enough for naturalization. There's so much more to cover, but of course I want to leave something for the next time, so I can see you again all next Thursday. I just wanted to let you know, because of COVID restrictions, of course, they ask you all these questions, and stuff. And we had an issue, and it's not an issue actually, but this was one of the things that was related to COVID. A person met with somebody 2 days before the interview, and when they got home the next morning, they found out that the person they were hanging out with tested positive. But our client, the person who had the naturalization interview, has been fully vaccinated. He went the same day, got the negative PCR test, and when we went to the interview, we told the supervisor what happened. We provided documentation, and the supervisor said no problem, and the person was able to go ahead, and the person is a U.S. citizen by now. But those things should be brought to our attention, and we will tell you what the best way forward in that situation is, because you are asked at USCIS offices whether you've been exposed, and all those things. They do take precautions. Did I forget anything? I don't think so. I think as far as introduction to citizenship goes, that's enough. I'm gonna be looking forward to your comments and questions. You can watch us here, and you can watch us on YouTube. We post weekly. There's like about a week delay in videos, but if you couldn't catch me here, you can always go to our YouTube channel and watch our videos there. And I know I promised, so I will post it later on today again. I'll post the link to USCIS website with processing times, where you can enter the form number and the service center where the case is pending, and I'll give you approximate processing times. If you don't know how to find that information, you can go to my video where I talk about the filing receipts and where to find all the information and how to do all of that. I hope everybody's safe after yesterday, and I hope we get some more sunshine and some positive energy before. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys, you're gonna love it. I went to Starbucks yesterday and I walked in and something didn't sit right with me. I was like, something is off. And what happened was they were playing Christmas music, and I went to the barista and I was like, this is too early, it's September, you're skipping like 4 holidays, you can't be playing Christmas music. He's like, I have no control over this. I think it's horrible, we're not ready for this, definitely not. So that was a little fun thing that happened to me yesterday. I think it's way too early. If I start hearing Christmas music in August, I don't know where to run. I was happy to see everybody. If you have any questions, let us know. Send text messages, emails, give us a call. I know we weren't answering our phones earlier this morning, but that's because everybody had a very long commute into the office. Last thing, we will be closed Labor Day, so you can certainly send us an email or leave us a message. We will not be here on Monday, Labor Day. We are off, but we will get back to you starting Tuesday. You can text us, you can send us an email, but just allow a few days after the Labor Day for us to catch up on all the correspondence. Thank you guys. It's so great to see everybody here, and I will see you next Thursday. Have a great weekend.